What a big chunk of trying to get growth and scale up is how do you manage the churn? And that's that as you have customers coming in, what happens to them? Do they continue to stay with you? Do they just kind of sit on the sideline because they really don't need to buy that much from you? Or did you piss them off, in which case they become antagonists? We grew up calling them terrorists. I don't know if you're allowed to say that anymore. But as you can see, the number of touches you need for a known customer versus a new customer is quite a bit more work. Now, in terms of engaging your customers, again, you have to look at the funnel and you have to look at your hierarchy of effects. Essentially, where are you doing well? Where are you not doing well? How do you engage with your high-profile targets? And an example is in the early days, LinkedIn. What did they realize? The whole crux to LinkedIn is, do you share it to active users? Can you bring people in who are going to be active? And so for the people who are like in their top 10%, and I guess they had a platinum class and a gold class and a silver class, but they sent messages and made sure that they were engaged. And Amazon sent mugs. In terms of you developing models, some of the most common ones are looking at RFM, which is recency, frequency, and monetary. Meaning, are they currently active or were they active like months ago? How often are they active and how much are they going to spend? And so this past data, it's good for predictions in the short term, but not the long term because your customer changes over time. However, your customer changes over time, but their habits probably aren't going to change all that rapidly. We change slowly. You can't bank on people changing. I remember I went to this job and the vice president, everybody kept bringing up the word with me, maturity. He's maturing. And I said, he's over 30, he's got a house, he's got wife and kids. Pfft, he's not going to mature. I'm just going to have to deal with him who he is. Anyway, some models and variables you look at are these, where you're looking at replacement cycles, and what it comes down to is this is where the time prediction comes in. This is where you can actually do modeling. And so what you would do is essentially every customer is individual, and then you would sum it up as a population. So in terms of engaging, do I want to upsell them? Do I want to cross-sell them, meaning to accessories? Do I want to next sell them the next big product? Or is it irrelevant? Which means that, gee, they don't want to buy anything or anything. However, they know other people. And so the more positive experience you can give them, the more likely they're going to pass you on. And downselling is you start selling them for the less luxurious parts of what you sell. So these are the kinds of people, customer types who engage with you. And naturally, the top three are going to have the most engagement. They're the easiest to sell to. And the frequency, you want more than just size of order. And that's that the people who are more frequent, guess what? Those are also the people who are going to have referrals and things like that. So you're willing actually to sacrifice order size for more activity. The other thing is, how do you keep in touch with them? And a lot of companies use email. And part of the reason why is that most people don't take themselves off email lists. I know I don't, and that's why I get 100 emails every day. But I still like to scan the subject lines. In terms of emailing, if you don't email enough, guess what? They're not engaged and they're not interested. On the other hand, if you email too much, you just annoy the hell out of them. And so this is a behavior curve of how people act. And so you figure out where's the optimal point to operate. And the red line is basically, you're hitting the danger point, that essentially you're reaching the knee in the curve. In terms of re-engaging people, this is why retargeting is so popular today. And you look at certain identifiers to find who they are. And you look for abandoned web carts. And the reason why is because websites, typically people leave 96% of the time without buying anything. 12 times more people abandon browsing than web carts. And so these are the people to follow up on. And the way you can tell is you can track how many pages they go through. If they go through one page and leave right away, that's a bounce. If they stay longer, they're a bit more interest. If you're interested in this area, I would recommend that you look at the lectures from my 494 class. The thing about these lectures take a long time to write. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm talking about like I put in about 20 hours of research into every lecture, and then I take out all the fluff and try to condense it in a form that's usable. But essentially, this is more or less the state of the art of where the field's at. In terms of developing your customer, you want retweets, you want shares and likes. And there are 4 types of loyal customers that you have, your longer term ones. Maybe they're not frequent, but in terms of lifetime value, if they do create spending amounts, then all of a sudden you look at them a lot more differently. The key to retention is talk to your customer, create loyalty programs so they stay with you. You can have other rewards for behaviors. For example, Coca-Cola had their point systems. You get enough points, you get to buy stuff. And so what they did is if you gave them access to like your Facebook account or something like that, if you share, then they would give you more points. So they weren't interested in the sale. They were interested in your data network. And people do buy data from each other. And so, in effect, you're kind of selling cheap. The one thing about discounts, though, is be careful because they become an entitlement. I mean, right now, Macy's has so many sales and discounts. Even their own register people get confused about it. And now it's like who goes to Macy's to pay full price. And your customer has other values, such as shipping, time. In terms of programs, here are a lot listed out, whether it's campaign automation or predictive intelligence. So summarizing it all up, your scale is essentially the resources that you create that can track your growth. It could be limited by any part of the enterprise. It might be people, it might be machinery, it might be cash. And so execution is your key. It's attention to these details and understanding how all the parts are going to fit together that work. Growth can take many forms, especially like if you have a digital business, which are more interested in the beginning as users as opposed to profit. Although, again, it's against my religion. So for you to get growth, you have to start performing on a lot of different areas. In order to get digital growth, it's all about activity. And so new product development, acquisitions, and mergers, there are a lot of other tools that corporations use to grow.